Fuck you, Craig.
Hi, Craig. No, you don't start off with the F word.
Why not?
The second the podcast starts.
Just get it out of the way. Get it over with. That way we, he used his one. I still have 6 to go.
And I've been saving mine up for one epic rant.
You're just saving yours up for like one episode ever.
Yeah. Gear doesn't even show up anymore, man. I'm still wondering what happened to him.
Keep waiting for Chris to realize that he's buried in the backyard, but he still hasn't. Or wait, what?
The tombstone, it just reads Georg. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe that's where he lives. I don't know.
Yeah, that's his house. That's his hole.
All right, well, I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher. We have Grumpy Dungeon Master Panda with us.
Hi, Panda.
Yos.
So that way he can do things other than 7 Days to Die with us.
And I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay. I'm not really that grumpy, but...
Well, I'm very grumpy today.
Oh, good. Somebody had to be.
I was prepared to have a nice, wonderful day, sitting in my living room, reading the Ouroboros source book. And instead I was distracted by the movie Turning Red, which is a cute little movie, but don't want to really talk about it. I'm not 13 nor a girl, so it really doesn't relate to me. But then, me and my wife, I'll take partial blame for this, decided to watch Fast and Furious 9.
Hell yeah.
Instead of reading the Ouroboros source book. So I got nothing accomplished today, and I think I've seen the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
You mean one of the best?
Oh my god!
Let me say I honest to God, I don't know if I've seen number 9.
It's the one with John Cena in it.
No, okay, I have not seen that one.
That still doesn't help me. It's a blur. I've seen John Cena in enough things that I don't remember if I've seen him in this.
John Cena's in it. Cars defy the laws of physics, which is pretty general. They all do.
Yeah.
But they'll launch a car into space and fly it around the Earth.
Hell yeah.
So I guess maybe I haven't seen this one.
So
Yeah.
I have a particular distaste for the early films. I saw the first Fast and Furious, and I fucking hated it. And then I just never watched any of the others until I think number 6 or 7. And by that point, it had so jumped the shark that it was actually entertaining. It's not good, but it's definitely entertaining.
It's like 2 before I saw the first one. And so when I saw the first one, my first reaction was, Vin Diesel's in this? Since he's not in the second one. But it's a ridiculous series. It's just fun.
It is a ridiculous series. It's like when you play D&D and you go doing these wacky, crazy things, but then, like, when you start breaking all reality with what you're doing and things just don't matter anymore, there's no more consequence. That was a running joke throughout the film, was that there's no consequences to their actions and that they're surviving
people in front of like the local townsfolk and no one reacts.
Right. Well, that's already been dealt with.
Oh, good.
I promise only to eat non-humanoid human, or only humanoid non-humans.
What?
Yeah, because eating goblins is definitely better.
I ate a doppelganger last time.
Oh, good lord.
That's not any better.
That's not any better.
Well, no one wanted to share it with me, so I ate the whole thing.
I think I would say that all of the people you run with, their alignments just need to be shifted at this point, or just completely ignored forever.
Pretty much.
We did have a really good game yesterday with our Fendelver. The DM actually got his first kill. He actually killed somebody.
Was it you?
No, it was not me.
Damn it.
He tried his best, but it was not me. It was actually his friend, Scruffy Duck, that got killed.
Well, Scruffy's been killing you enough on 7 Days to Die.
Yeah, I was like, we either need to barge into this room or we close the door and run away. And Scruffy's like, all right, fine, I'll go into the room. And he walked into the room and just immediately he's down. And immediately he's dead. And I was like, why did he go in there?
Never listen to the chaotic neutral person. Never listen to them.
But yeah, we we did like the level 3 place all at level 2. And the only reason we survived is the fact that he could not hit us. Like, he was trying. He wasn't flubbing rolls. He wasn't being nice to us. But he just could not land hits on us. When the hits did land, we were taking like 17 damage. So, like, it hurt. Hobgoblins hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he actually killed Scruffy Duck. And what was funny with us, we had a scroll of Revivify. And turns out Revivify is in the Artificer like spell allotment. So she could actually read the scroll and actually revivify him. So that was neat.
Oh, anybody could cast any scroll.
No.
I never remember.
No, it's got to be a part of like your spell school.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. So you had a scroll of Revivify.
Yeah.
What you're saying. You didn't have a spell scroll of Revivify.
Yeah.
Right. Spell scrolls of Revivify could hypothetically be used by anybody. A scroll of Revivify, you have to have it on your class list.
I have never heard of this differentiation.
Yeah, it only is truly applicable to actually like one or two items that are actually in the DMG, where there are spell scrolls of blah. I don't remember what the spell was for, but like spell scroll of protection of something or other, and those anybody can use. But if you look at any listings for a scroll, you have to have it on your spell list. At least that's how I've come to understand it, because 5e just fucks up everything having to do with magic items anyway.
And I could be totally off on this because you're really diving into minutia at this point. I have only ever heard of scroll of whatever the spell is. Scroll of Revivify, scroll of Resurrection, scroll of Wish, scroll of Fireball. And you can either cast off of the scroll, or you can scribe it into your book if you're one of those type of casters. That's the only thing I am familiar with or aware of.
I'm trying to remember, and I might even have it backwards, but there is two different items, and it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't have my DMG here in front of me to look.
Which brings up an interesting question too, because of the high level scrolls that are in like certain campaign settings that you can find. And let's not be specific about them. But like, could you then put those into your spell book and like destroy everything?
Wait, say what? Sorry, I got to looking for magic scroll versus spell scroll, and then I didn't hear what you said.
Sure, don't pay attention to me. There's in a couple of the campaigns, there's spell scrolls that are like a level 10, 11, 12 spells.
Oh yeah, for
don't
edition?
Yeah, and don't be specific about them. But like, if you were to get those, could you scribe those into your book and then cast it whenever you want?
So you're saying like a 9th level fireball scroll, or even 10th, 12th level fireball scroll? If you scribe it, it's a 3rd level fireball.
No, let's say I have a scroll of summon dragon turtle.
Okay, yeah, as that is not an actual. Well, I won't say you couldn't, but if it's a 10th level scroll, oh yeah, I know. Like in
yeah, don't be specific.
Yeah, okay, I follow you. I'd forgotten about this thing. No, something like that. I don't think you could scribe. Because it's not. You don't have a spell slot to ever cast it. I mean, I guess maybe you could scribe it, but you can't ever cast it because it's higher than 9th level. In 3rd edition, you absolutely could have cast it because there were epic levels that allowed you to cast 10th, 11th, 12th level, and so forth.
Okay. So, here's the spiel. I did say it backwards, but I was still on the money. There is spell scrolls, and they're listed in the DMG under scroll as the item type of a scroll, with the rarity of varies, obviously based off of what level the spell is. Yep. Those are things that can be put into your spell books, and they can be, if the spell is on your class of spell list, you can read the scroll and cast it without providing any material components, otherwise the scroll is unintelligible. However, On the page right before that, there is Scroll of Protection.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
a rare scroll, which is each scroll of protection works against a specific type of creature chosen by the DM, blah, blah, blah. Use an action to read the scroll and closes you, but there is no caster requirement.
I got you.
Anybody
Okay.
can use that scroll. And there have been, I believe, that's just the DMG. I believe there have been an iteration or two where they've done something similar, where it's like a magical scroll that anyone can use. That does some sort of effect, but it's different from the spell scrolls.
So basically, exactly what you're talking about, Waples. The 10th or higher level scrolls would probably just be scroll of blank as
Okay.
opposed to spell scroll. So anyone could cast those.
Okay, and I think that's how they read in those few novels.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to read the ones that are the actual scroll, it's just a DC check. And I think it was Dimitri said it was DC 13, one of the other rules players. I like having them around because they know everything
Yep.
that I don't know yet.
Yeah, I have a Jacob for that.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Like I said, he got his first death, and we were able to bring him back, and it like I said, it was very weird how we just kept surviving. Like we couldn't get hit, and then if we did get hit, it was I'm going to intercept and reduce the damage by 11. So the question kind of came up was like, at what level does that intercept stop being useful, and the normal imposing disadvantage on the attack become better? And my initial guess is something like super high, like when like 3d12 damage is coming through,
I would
like,
assume probably 8th or so, 7th or 8th levels probably when it starts getting better. And maybe not in all situations, but a lot of the time it would be better to just give the disadvantage.
yeah. But like but by that time you've probably stopped ending that campaign, or you're close to ending that campaign, because like really nothing goes past 11.
Why would you stop running the campaign at that low of a level?
I mean, a lot of the campaigns in 5th stop at 5.
Well, stop running those and run your own.
That's where the books end. There's nothing saying that's where the campaign needs to end.
When the books end, the campaign ends.
I mean, when I run a campaign, that son of a bitch is going until I'm done running it.
For a GM without any creativity.
Hey, I just ran a whole homebrew Feywild Owl-based campaign.
Good for you.
And what level did it end at?
9.
Yeah, why is it not still going?
Because I need a break.
Okay, well that's
campaign
fair.
Can end at lower levels. That's fine if you've reached a story conclusion that is satisfying. Then yeah, fine, whatever. It ends when it ends.
Yeah,
but,
I think it ended.
But there's no reason that it has to end at any particular levels.
Yep, especially even with the books, like they have sort of soft endings a lot of the time.
We've talked about how they have no ending all the times.
Yeah, I mean, Icewind Dale was very, very open, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But if the person running it wanted to keep going, Icewind Dale could go to epic levels if you really wanted.
Yeah, I really wanted to play the one ending out to the fullest extent, but I'd have to like make it all up and do, years upon years of research in order to figure that one out.
No, you wouldn't. No, I don't want to say anything on air because we've avoided spoilers very heavily for Icewind Dale. I want to stick with that theme. So just remind me afterwards. But you don't have to do a massive amount of research for that one.
Maybe.
I've never played this campaign, so I have no idea.
Yeah,
you don't play any campaigns.
You know what? You know what campaigns Panda has played? Dragonlance.
Oh, by the way,
Sure.
I didn't kill anybody this week in AAL. Real quick.
Oh,
nobody died.
What?
Nobody died.
You didn't run, did you?
No, I did.
You sure?
Yeah.
Are you
Nobody
sure?
died. Nobody died. They survived 2 castings of Ice Storm, and nobody died.
I find that was it them casting it?
No, I cast it on them.
I'm actually really surprised because they're second level, third maybe.
Yeah, second and third level. Yeah.
I mean, Ice Storm. It's not a lot of damage, but a couple of those would hurt.
Yep, rolled low both times,
That
and then
happens.
they Raffle stomped in the Frost Druid.
All
Cool.
right.
Congrats
I'm
to them.
I'm almost speechless on this. You've killed so many characters.
Which I don't understand.
What do you mean you don't
I've
understand?
been a DM for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I am by no means a soft GM when it comes to combat, and I do not kill anywhere near the amount of players that you do.
Do you ever
The
like?
amount of turnover you've had of players of characters, I should say, is ridiculous.
5th edition is really hard to kill characters.
Yeah.
Not at level 1.
At level 1, it's not. At
Oh,
level 2,
wait.
it is.
That's right, because none of his games go past like 6th level,
Oh yeah.
so they never get good.
To be fair, that's not all his fault. He does run a lot of the campaigns.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, once you get past 5th level, I don't think you ever die.
I mean, once you get past 2nd level, it's hard to die. It's just hard. It's not hard to get dropped in combat no matter what level, but it's hard to die.
I don't know. See, in my games, it usually is going to come down to the type of opponents that they're fighting as well. Like, if you're fighting some, like, bears or something like that, like, or some, like, random elementals, they go after what's moving or hurting them. They're pretty simplistic in that sort of regard. If you're fighting a bunch of dudes and, like, the cleric gets downed, they're going to keep hitting him until he stays down.
What the cleric?
Like, if the NPCs drop, like, the healer in their party,
What's the healer?
what the fuck are you talking about?
I literally nobody in my campaigns plays healers.
Oh, well, your players are a bunch of schmucks.
Yeah, we've
Learn
already
some team
determined that.
dynamics and balances.
Oh no, there's none of that.
No,
Well, yeah,
like, if you
Panda
drop
has
the
the
healer, you
opposite
keep going
problem.
after him.
Panda has the opposite problem. He has 2 druids that cast Aura Vitality themselves, then like turn into bears or something and never
In
die.
2 different games.
Oh, and then what's the one archetype they can take where they can just shapeshift at will as many times as they want to whatever the fuck they want, never die.
Moon Druids?
Moon Druids, yeah, those.
Yeah. I have 1 Moon Druid and I have 1... Oh, what's his subclass? He's...
Fireball Druid.
He's not a Moon Druid, that's all that matters.
He's a Fireball Druid.
No,
Yeah, just took that away.
we had to homebrew some of his stuff because he liked the idea and the concept of Druid, but he specifically told me, I have no interest in shapeshifting. I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, is there anything we can do or play around with where we can maybe swap shapeshift out for some other sort of ability? And so we got rid of shapeshift and gave him a version of like channel divinity.
I think 3rd edition had that option. There was a prestige class that would basically just give you more spells or something but you would sacrifice your ability to shapeshift.
Well, he's a water genasi sailor, and so we made a channel nature sort of thing that was based around water type abilities. I think I looked at the oddly enough, I got some use out of the 4 elements monk, just looking at some of their water abilities and converted them into channel divinity abilities, and they do great. Like the ability to basically start gliding along, and as you do so, a spray of water sprays out around you, and you can basically knock people prone as you move past them.
Yeah, that seems good.
Yeah, and there's a channel divinity. That's pretty nice. So yeah, it was like we had to swap them out for that. So thank God it's not 2 moon. And yeah, the other one though is a moon druid monk, so that he can get wisdom bonuses to his beast shapes.
Moon Druid monk. So he just shapeshifts into something and then goes all monk on them.
He shapeshifts, so he can throw off a spell. This is what I was telling Grumpy about the other day. He can throw off a spell like Aura of Vitality, which is a bonus action heal for 10 rounds, as long as you maintain concentration. He can then shapeshift into something big like a giant elk. And then he has a 17 AC. He has an attack because he's adding his wisdom bonus to the elk's dexterity. And then he can attack as the elk and then bonus action heal on every turn.
And giant elks hit pretty damn hard.
Yeah, they do all right. Now, admittedly, when I threw him up against a bunch of Umber Hulks and he had to avert his eyes so he couldn't see anything, the giant elk was less useful.
Yeah. At that point, you probably want more attacks because giant elks only get the one.
Exactly.
You just transform into a snake and you can see with your tongue.
And the time before that, when he turned into a giant elk, I believe I had a monk on the field and I was stunning him.
Say how you like it, monk. Stun.
Yeah, I can do the same.
Well, I had a game where, due to some things that have happened in the past, my players were up against some copies, like clones, essentially, versions of themselves or PCs that have died that they have played with before. And one of them was the monk that is a regular member of my D&D games, who then ran around and they saw her, the version of her, and immediately freaked out and did their best to drop her as fast as possible. Because they're like, holy crap, we can't let the monk stun everybody.
I've done that before. I don't think I've done it in 5th edition, but I know in other ones I've run it where they've run into versions of themselves.
Yeah. So
actually, no, I did that in 5th. Now that I think about it, that was my happened in my previous campaign.
It's fun, and well, especially because since they basically the party has run into this group before, and the party that had run into them before, they got copies of that party, and so when this group then ran into them again, they were fighting the other. They're basically the last party that they had encountered, but had been leveled up the same as them.
Yeah.
So it was chaos.
Yeah, I think when I did it, they fought like mirror versions of themselves.
Yeah, I've done that sort of thing as well. I did like a madhouse at one point with like mirrors, and then you can get dragged through the mirror to the other side, and you end up fighting your doppelganger before you can get out of the mirror.
When you've run out of ideas, do a mirror battle.
Uh-huh. No, when you run out of ideas, you do an arena.
When you run out of ideas, you run a book.
Or that, yeah.
But I remember there was a very stressful weekend at one of the Shadowmoor LARPs, and the plot team. There was only one guy running the plot, and he's like, all right, fine, well, there's a house, and you're just going to fight yourselves. And like he would borrow our gear and like pretend to be us. And we were just like critiquing him the entire time. Like, I wouldn't swing that. I'd block with my shield a lot more. I got spells. He's not using any spells. What's going on?
That would be the easiest one to copy. Death spells. Nothing but death spells.
I used to like my monster shifts at LARPs. But sometimes I just never wanted to go out as like a combat. Like I wanted RP on PCs.
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorites was, I don't know, I guess I just got the right monster marshal on my side. Because I'm like, dude, send me out as something stupid and funny. And he's like, all right, cool. Let's send you out as something stupid and funny. So they sent me out as a dwarven alcohol mage.
You only throw firebombs?
And we just customized it. No, I had like very little combat capability, but I could like intoxicate people against their will, and like I could make geysers of beer shoot out of the ground for giggles.
Oh my god.
So I just like sitting there and I'm like doing stupid stuff. I'm like, what are you? Can you teach us this magic? And like, you gotta drink a lot and be a dwarf to even survive it. There was a lot of that stuff. And he went by nothing more than the name Beer Master. I liked stupid fun things like that.
I don't know. I could have fun with something like that, even in a tabletop game.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But like getting to dress up as a dwarf and just wander around and do that dumb stuff where they're used to fighting. Like they're like, "Don't you have like an adventure for us to go on?" I'm like, "No, I was gonna get drunk. You got any other alcohol?" Like they kept getting so confused. They kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. There was no shoe. I was there to be a distraction.
Lovely.
I remember one person, they came in as a bunch of rats, and all we did is feed them cheese from the. Like, we kept going in and getting slices of cheese and bowls of shredded cheese from the tavern, and just kept going out and feeding the monsters cheese.
I mean, just speaking in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, sometimes it's fun to do stuff like that. Just to, I call it killing time, but it's honestly you're there to just entertain people,
Yeah.
and yeah, the players will absolutely play along with stuff like that if you provide it for them. And I mean, you could run an entire evening of stuff like that if if the players let you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Problem
like,
is, though, is everyone's just a bunch of murder hobos wherever I go.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Gizmo. Come play with. Oh God!
I always enjoyed as well at LARP when somebody would attempt to use mind magic, and I could just take them literally because the spells were not superly defined like it is in a D&D game where like it's step by step and here's the only commands you can give them. They can stop or fall. So I had like somebody gave me like they wanted me to they were like a cultist and they wanted me to like go around and tell everybody about how the world was going to be coming to an end. But what they specifically said was run around the end and tell everyone the end is near. So I went outside and I'm not going to lie, I didn't run because I'm still a chunky boy, but I jogged well at a good speed around the inn for 10 minutes, just yelling, the end is near, the end is near, the end is near. And just did that for 10 minutes while people watched me confused as hell. Because, yay, taking it literally.
Yeah. One of my favorite
Screw your
things
mind
was
magics.
we were playing. Me and Jay were playing Undead at one of the other, not Shadowmoor, but one of the other Solar LARPs, and Jay, I don't think you were with me at the time, but we were playing Undead Skeletons, like 66 skeletons.
Okay.
And one of the guys goes, follow her around and stay with her at all times. And so that's all we did is just follow around the main like big bad, just walking right behind them. We had like a train of like 4 skeletons just walking behind her, and for like a good 5-10 minutes before they caught on and said, "Go kill people." I was like, okay.
Yep, you have to give the undead commands.
Very specific commands.
Yep.
Follow her. All right. Well, shit.
Yeah,
And they had like this giant like stick thing. I kept walking into it and poking out my eyes.
I think my favorite combat NPCs had to be the Saturday morning wake up NPCs.
Nope.
Where you get sent out as some shitty little creature like goblins.
Yep.
And they're just like, go wake people up. And I was like, yes, sir. And show up at like people's tents and break in and start hitting them with shit like, it was great shit. Because people are getting up, half dressed, fighting me in their underwear. Like fucking sleepies are still in their eyes. They're like rubbing their eyes while trying to fight with one hand. Those were the best. And like, I only had like 10 hit points, but they're so fucking out of it that like I'm still an actual threat.
Yeah, that would get you killed IRL in Shadowmoor.
Yep.
Waking up a couple of the people.
Yeah, they used to do that a long time ago. They pretty much stopped sending out wake up monsters because motherfuckers want their sleep.
Well, people had, if you were asleep and in game, you were asleep in game.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for them to actually cause any harm other than make noise. Shadowmoor's got a system where it's pretty much impossible for any monsters to get into people's cabins. So
a lot of the buildings were admittedly like warded and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but like if you weren't in the graces, there were people that were accessible. God forbid you fell asleep in the common room.
Oh, sure, yeah. If you fall asleep in the tavern, you're free
If
game.
you fall asleep in the tavern common room, you are in danger.
Yeah.
Free game at that point. All
I
right.
I'm sorry. I've completely tangent, and probably none of this is usable.
Oh no, it's already usable.
Oh, I'm not cutting any of this shit. People can take it as it is.
It's just Jay really wants to talk about the Unearthed Arcana and Dragonlance. I will do everything I can to avoid it because I know nothing about Dragonlance in any capacity whatsoever.
Oh,
I know there's dragons.
You will.
There's dragons, and there's people that ride dragons, and there's lances. I'm assuming they wield to stab other people that ride dragons. I think it's just a giant game of joust.
Just read a book.
Yeah.
I
I mean, God forbid you might get some story ideas out of it.
I could
No,
loan you
I
those two
definitely
books.
don't want it. I definitely don't want to know their story ideas.
Well,
Why?
you're about to learn because I'm gonna teach you.
All right, so let's start off. What the heck are the Kender? Tell me that.
All right. The Kender. The easiest way to describe them is the 5th edition gnomes. That's kind of what they look like, although most of them have like ponytails or top knots. For whatever reason, it's just a Kender thing. They like their hair long. As for what they do, they're much more akin to They're more akin to halflings, or the adventurous side of halflings. They like to borrow things, and I say borrow very loosely. They're often thieves, pickpockets, things like that. The vast majority of them are.
Yeah.
But they don't. They're very ADD. They don't realize they're stealing, or they don't think of stealing as bad. They might take a diamond from you and leave you a few pieces of string, or they might take a few pieces of string and leave you a diamond.
Now, admittedly, hold on. So yeah, in appearance, they are essentially small mixtures of gnomes, halflings, and elves. They're slender in form, pointed ears.
3.5, 4 feet tall, maybe.
Yeah, like they're tiny little guys, and they essentially they're ADD kleptomaniacs.
Yep.
But they do not consider themselves in any way, shape, or form to be thieves. Not really.
No.
Like, basically they have an entire cultural point of view where ownership is only when something is upon your person. So if you leave something like on a table, that doesn't belong to anybody. You can just take that. That goes true for all market stalls, stores, people's houses. It's not on your person. It doesn't actually belong to you. So it ends up in their bag, and they don't even think about it when they take it. So it's one of the ongoing things with Kenders is they never themselves even know what's in their bags.
Yep.
Which we're going to get into when we talk about their racial stuff.
Of which we're about to start getting into. The other thing about Kinders, and they do actually use it in the Kinder traits for the racial class or racial thing, is they're not afraid of anything. Kinders do not know fear. It's just in their nature to be so curious about the world and everything in it. They're not actually afraid of anything.
And culturally, they are also incredibly good at pissing people off.
Yep.
Like they have a natural affinity for knowing how to dig at you and insult the shit out of you. In fact, in harkening back to what we just talked about, one of my NPCs at one point in the LARPs was actually just a Kender who had a taunt ability where you threw it off and everybody had to try to kill you for like 3 minutes, and all you had to do was just try to avoid that shit because you were so annoying. And it had the prerequisite that you had to insult them 3 times first.
Yeah, every single Kinder is Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah,
just constant insults.
And shit gets stuck in their webs.
So the Kinder traits
I want to build a Kinder Spider-Man now. That's going to happen.
So Kinders are humanoid. They're size small.
Yes.
Walking speed of 30 feet, because everyone has 30 feet now.
Yeah, that's just... you need to stop putting it in here.
Yeah, you are brave. You have advantage on saving throws that you make to avoid or end the frightened condition on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Kinder Ace, starting at 3rd level, you possess a magical ability to pull an item out of a bag or another container. As a bonus action, you can reach into the container you're carrying and roll in the Kinder Aces table to determine what item you pull out. These objects glimmer softly and disappear after 1 hour. You can use this as a bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
And therefore, we stop it right there, because that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, me and Panda both have issues with how this works.
Because that is completely against how the concept of a Kender. They don't have magically pull shit out of random things. It's that they have accidentally, essentially, acquired shit. It's not magical. It shouldn't disappear in an hour.
Yep.
So, And I get that what they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid an OP sense of like bringing in object permanency at random. They don't want somebody to like abuse an ability where they can manifest things and then give them permanency and then be abused in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, 5e is all about game balance over everything, and
And
in situations like this, that's not a good call.
So I would essentially just throw out the last part of Kenderace when I was running a game for them, but I'd also make the table way more crazy. But also, it's the other problem is that, like, sure, the random table's good, but they're not just reaching in the bag and then pulling out something at random. They're looking for something. Like, they go into their bag because, like, shit, do I have a dagger? And they have to, like, there needs to be it needs to work in such a way that, like, you need to make a check to see if you can pull out the item of your desire. And then if it fails, you end up with something else random in your hand instead.
I would simplify it, in my opinion. Honestly, it should have just been you get to pull a random item from the trinkets table, because that's like 100 items or something. It's a lot of options, and they're such random things that a Kender likely would have picked up.
Well, let me read what the current random list is.
Sure, yeah.
So the current table is when you use this ability, you can pull either one of 6 things, which is actually like one of a lot of other things. So the first item is 5d6 pieces of gold, 1 simple weapon of your choice that has a light property, 1 item of your choice from the adventuring gear table in the player's handbook. The item must cost no more than 1 gold piece and weigh no more than 1 pound. 1 random item from the trinkets table in the player's handbook, your choice of a crowbar or grappling hook, and then 1 item of your choice from the tools table in the player's handbook. The item must cost no more than 10 gold pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, your trinket table is there. It's just,
yeah,
it's
just
buried within the 1d6.
Yeah. It's the making the magical items that disappear after an hour that just sort of kills the whole damn thing. I guarantee you, if I ever run a Dragonlance game with this, I will not use that portion of it if it stays in, because this is just the UA.
Maybe you know what I might be able to do. Maybe I would change it to something like, it would almost be like a 2 separate abilities where you can make a check. And there's like a list of sort of items that or you could possibly find. And you can make a check to try to pull that type of item out of your bag. And that's usable, however, a certain amount of times per long rest, like they've been doing like normal. And then do like a once per long rest. You can upend your bag, roll 3 times on the chart, and see what falls out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I mean, something like that.
Something along those lines. Something that reflects what it's actually supposed to be and not this weird magical bag of holding ability or illusionary magic. Because great, so the object glimmers softly and then disappears. If you detect magic on it, is it an illusion? Is it a conjuration? What the fuck is this?
Is it magic? Because if it fucking disappears after an hour, it means it's magic, or you lost it again, which is also possible.
Starts with you possess a magical ability to pull an item out of a bag or container. It could be any. So you could open up a chest and randomly pull something out.
Anyway, we still have a lot of stuff to get to.
True. Yeah. But anyway, so that ability needs some work. A lot.
The last ability is Taunt. You have a supernatural ability to home in on a creature's emotional raw nerves and craft a taunt that flutters that creature. As a bonus action, you can unleash a barrage of insults at a creature within 60 feet. They can hear and understand you. The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or has disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. You can use this as a bonus action equal to your proficiency. Regain on a long rest. They're not bad. I mean, like, taunts like what I wish I had, normally,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't have any problems with the taunt. Seems good to me.
A good ability. Now, as a race as a whole, though, it's kind of a weak class. It's kind of a weak race.
Yeah, I mean,
like, taunt is good, Brave is good, but it is situational. You don't run into frightened a ton. It's a little rare. And then Kender Ace is amusing, but not superly useful. So in the grand scheme of things, you have one good ability.
For me, I care nothing about if it's good or not. Does it fit what a Kinder is? The answer is yes. It needs some work, obviously, but it still is what a Kinder is.
What
It's fine.
they put there is what a Kender is, but it could have been punched up and still kept that.
Well, it needs some stat bonuses, like all the other races do.
No,
everyone gets the same stat
I don't give a
bonuses,
crap about that. Stat bonuses,
Yeah.
whatever you change it to be, I'm fine with that. But like proficiency with stealth, every Kender should just have that shit.
I don't know about stealth, but they absolutely should pick. They should have proficiency in sleight of hand.
Or like you give them an option of like three things: it's performance, stealth, or sleight of hand. Pick one skill.
Sure, yeah, okay.
Like something like you could have punched this up to be a little bit better than because it's kind of shit.
Honestly, when you compare this to the GIF got one thing and then it's crap. They made out when it comes to
compare it to a Warforged or any elf.
Yeah, but those are always going to be crazy things. I mean, this guy has a taunt, and then he has an extra save, and then he has this pulling out 30 gold pieces whenever he wants.
Now the Kinder Aces, if they don't change it, it's actually really good.
Because it's illusionary?
No, because if I'm able to just pull out items and then, I'll sell this, it's magical. Next thing you know, you start running into stuff like that, or do some minor illusions to make it not look magical. And then, I pull out a grappling hook. I just sold it for 15 gold pieces or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you have no control whatever you're pulling out of this thing.
And the worst part is too is like, okay, so like let's say you're stuck in prison, okay, everyone's locked together. You find a container. Let's say the chamber pod. Oh, okay, I'm gonna Kinder Ace this chamber pod. Oh, look, thieves tools. Yay!
Yep.
Like
these tools are too expensive. You can't get them.
Well, you can take the lock picking part of the thieves tool then.
No, you can't.
You can.
The item must cost no more than 10 gold pieces. Either way, there's a lot you could do with that.
5d6 gold pieces, you roll high, bribe a guard.
Yeah. I mean, a guard makes what? A gold piece a week or something?
Hey, I found 30 gold pieces in my shit. Can you get me out of here?
Don't ask what I've been eating.
Calligraphers or carpenter's tools. They can get cobbles or cook stuff. Some leather worker. No smiths, no tinkers, no cartographers, definitely no alchemist supplies.
So the only subclass that they added, which I'm knowing nothing of Dragonlancing, only knowing that they have people on dragons with lances.
Yes, you're overly simplistic and unimpressive point of view.
There's only a sorcerer subclass of the moon. Why isn't there like a mounted like knight subclass, or is the whole idea of Dragonlancing just not a thing in Dragonlance?
This is just the beginning, man. There's going to be a lot more of it. It's kind of confusing how they've done a lot of this using backgrounds instead of archetypes for some of this stuff.
Okay.
But as we go through, it might make a little more sense. What you have to understand about, actually, sorcerers are a weird one in Dragonlance. Like it's been so long since I've run this stuff. I'm trying to remember, because there was the Wizards of High Sorcery, and they're referred to as High Sorcery, but that was the towers that taught wizards.
Now it's referred to as the Mages of High Sorcery.
Yeah, it's still referred to as sorcery, so that's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
The moon and the moon's phases were kind of a big thing in Dragonlance. They mattered. Certain prestige classes in 3rd edition would have more powerful magic depending on the phase of the moon. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that's sort of what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, without reading everything, it says basically it's like, oh, maybe you were involved in some kind of mystical moon ritual, or a piece of the moon crashed near you and you touched it as a baby and you got magical powers.
The moon is highly influential over who you are as a person in Dragonlance.
Okay. So this whole subclass for the for the sorcerer is pretty neat. You
It's a
basically
great
have,
concept, horribly written.
so yeah, depending on what the phase of the moon is, you have different spells that you can use, which is really cool. I really like that. It's a lot to kind of manage, but people have thrown out ideas from just like, oh, just use whatever the phase of the moon is outside, or that way the DM doesn't have to track it, and those are your spells for that session or whatever. I think they're really cool. I think it's a cool idea. It's not that hard to kind of talk with the DM and figure out how you want to do the moons, or if he wants to tell you what the phase of the moon is that day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not difficult for the DM to keep up with what the phase of the moon is.
Yeah.
They should have charts to keep up with it pretty easily. I know third edition did, so it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
I have luckily not had to track that shit in any of my games.
Fortunately, I never did either because none of my players ever played wizards that needed that, but it was an option.
Occasionally, somebody would ask me, "What's the moon? How are the moons like tonight?" And I'd just make some fucking shit up. I wasn't paying attention.
Crescent moon, yeah, waxing crescent moon. There you go.
Yeah.
But let's take this a step at a time. First, we have the Moonfire ability, which is you can call down a radiant light of the moon on command. You learn the Sacred Flame spell, so you get a free cantrip, which doesn't count against the number of sorcerer cantrips you know. When you cast a spell, you can target one creature as normal, or target two creatures within the range that are within 5 feet of each other. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really strong.
Seems
I love
good.
it.
Yeah.
I like it. I
It
like
doesn't-
that it's limited within 5 feet of each other.
Yeah. All it does is just make a normal cantrip splash, essentially.
Yep.
But it's not like you do, you hit somebody, but then a creature next to them takes a lesser, like your proficiency bonus in damage. Like you hit two fucking things. Perfect.
Yeah.
Talk about the lunar embodiment
This is where it already starts going wrong.
That doesn't go wrong for me. It's just, okay, here are the phases of the moon. These are the spells you get.
Because of the later ability that relies on this, it's where it goes wrong.
Well, very simply to understand it, you've got 3 lists of spells. You've got full moon, new moon, and crescent moon. I'm not going to go through what each spell is. Somebody can read that if they want. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can choose what lunar phase manifests its power through your magic. One of those phases of the moon. While in the chosen phase, spells of the associated phase in the lunar spell table can be cast once without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So if you're at least 9th level, you're just getting 5 free spells.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
It's very good. But this is the first chart where it's clear they're not paying attention to what the hell they're doing. Because under the full moon spells, your 3rd level spell, you get at 5th level, is Death Ward.
Yeah.
That's a 4th level spell.
Yeah.
You don't get it until 7th.
Well, apparently you get it at that point.
No, because they fucked up because they're not paying attention to shit.
Yeah, I mean this is UA. We already know that. Yeah, we already know that WotC's quality check is in the shitter lately. So
I don't know. It's a problem. So yes, so you're right. It is very strong that you can get 5 free spell castings per day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this list of spells needs to be corrected. It needs to be fixed. But
here's the problem. We're going to jump one ability. You get the next 2 abilities listed happen at the same level, but one of them is more important and more relevant to talking about lunar embodiment. So level 6, you gain greater control over the phases of your lunar magic. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change your lunar phase for a different one. So you've been casting your full moon spells. You took your free castings of your full moon spells. As a bonus action, you spend a sorcery point. You then change to new moon spells. You haven't cast any of those yet today. You get 5 more free castings.
While in the chosen phase, spells of the associated phase in the lunar spells table can be cast once without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. I, as a DM, would, and I shouldn't have to rule this, it should be written, but as a dungeon master, I'm going to rule it as you get 1 first, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, that's the way it should be run.
And I think that's the way it's intended. That is not the way it's written.
Good.
Yes. Yeah, the wording is shite.
I read those 2 abilities together and I went, you have got to be shitting me.
Because effectively that would be, I spend 1 sorcery point and I have 5 new spells. I spend 1 sorcery point, I have 5 new spells.
I don't want to argue with some goober at some convention if I decide to run a gaming convention over how this fucking thing works if they don't change the wording. Because that's stupid. But yeah, I like the concept now with that limitation put on it. It is
because at the cost of 2 sorcery points, you've effectively got 15 free spells.
Yes, and it's done. But with the limitation that you get 1 first, 1 third, 1 fifth, 1 7th, 1 9th, that's fine. It's now still very strong. Your spell diversity, being able to pop back and forth between a couple different things, is pretty good.
Well, let's talk about the other level 6 one that you get that I think has the potential to be incredibly broken. Is the lunar boons. Lunar phases influence your meta magic. Each lunar phase is associated with spells of the following schools of magic. The full moon, you get abjuration, conjuration. New moon is evocation, necromancy, and crescent moon is divination, transmutation. Mm-hmm. All of that actually does line up with what I know about 3rd edition Dragonlance, by the way.
Yeah.
The moon phase is having effects on specific schools of magic.
Mm-hmm.
But where I think this could go wrong is it says whenever you use meta magic on a spell from the lunar spells table or a spell of a school of magic associated with the phase that you are in, you can reduce the sorcery points spent by 1, minimum of 0.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So evocation, you can just every evocation spell that comes out,
you're 20.
Twin, I think, whatever the cost is, it's reduced by 1. So Quicken, I know, is 2. Twinning might be 1.
It depends on the level of spell.
Right, but that doesn't mean that you for free twin every first level spell you cast.
Yeah, but it provides you the ability to just boost every evocation spell, and I'm just using evocation as the example for free.
Yeah,
I love it, but it's that is too powerful.
I would have
now, mind you, it does give you a limiter of you can only do it a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier. But
yeah, that I think that's what brings it back under control.
It brings it more in line, yeah, but that's still. I mean, I would say at high level that could be a problem, but honestly, at high level, if all you're doing is just boosting a little spell, that's no big deal. It's probably a lot worse at low levels.
From 3, you're gonna, over the course of time, you're gonna get, and I mean, it's not like you can stack it. It's not like if you can use it multiple times on the same thing and get reduce the cost by 3. It's you get to knock off 1, 3 to 6 times. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorcery points are something that they have been very, very tight with not giving you extra sorcery points. Although I think with Fizzbands, there were some items that started giving sorcery points, so maybe they're just. And Tasha's probably had some too.
And I don't mind the use of this, given that you are more incentivized to expend sorcery points for your waxing and waning ability. Because that's going to use up, because if you want to swap between the different types of spells, you need to be able to blow a couple points there as well.
That is a fair point. I wasn't thinking of the waxing and waning, but yeah, no, that actually makes sense because
Yeah.
you're basically just negating the cost of it. So,
Right.
all right.
Now, after that, we get into lunar empowerment. This is your level 14 ability. The power of the lunar phase saturates your being. Whenever you choose a lunar phase to affect your magic, you also gain the following benefit associated with the phase. So obviously there's full moon, new moon, crescent. These are pretty damn good. But full moon, I think, comes through as the weakest, which is you shed a bright light for 10-foot radius and dim light an additional 10 feet. Actually, I forgot about the second part of this. And you and creatures of your choice have advantage on saving throws while the bright light within the bright light you shed. It's only
That's pretty
a
good.
10-foot aura.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's pretty good if you can stay close to
Pretty good.
people. I mean, just giving your whole party advantage.
Now, giving your party advantage is nice. If you can bundle up before that fireball hits you, rock on. But at best,
Well, it's
in normal
any
situation, you're going to get like 1-2 people.
Truthfully, yeah, you're probably only getting a couple of them. You're not likely to get the fighters because if you're a sorcerer, you shouldn't be in the front line with them.
Hell no.
well, it's also any saving throw.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, yeah,
Not
not
just
yeah.
So it's usual, like, it's. I'm trying to think, when would that come? How would that come into play?
Well, it gives you
Constitution saving throw,
it
death
gives
saving
you
throw.
it gives you advantage on all saving throw. Period,
Yeah.
because you're always in the light. I mean, it's just. I don't think it's broken by any means, but it's really useful. It's a good one. New moon.
The problem that once again comes into this one with me is how does it interact with other light and bright darkness spells? If you get darkness dropped on you, what happens to your light?
Well, I mean, darkness generally counters light, so I would imagine it would do the same. It's a darkness spell. Walk out of it, or dispel it.
Sure. Anyway, yes, new moon is, in my opinion, better.
The new moon, you get advantage on dexterity stealth checks. In addition, while you're in dim light or darkness, attack rolls have disadvantage against you. I think that balances out.
I'm a dodgy bitch.
Yep.
I think that's a bit better. Like, just not being less chance of people running up on me and smacking me around is always good. And staying in dim light or darkness is stupid easy. Stay away from don't be within 20 feet of somebody with a torch or a fireplace, and you're in dim light.
Yeah. Truthfully, I think Crescent Moon is the best of them.
Oh, absolutely.
You have resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. Yeah, that seems really good.
You enter the room. There are skulls all around. Crescent Moon right now. Switching right now. Crescent Moon. I want that resistance to necrotic right now.
Now, all of that being said, the Crescent Moon spells, they're the worst of the ones that are shown. We didn't read them off, but they're the least useful. So you're probably going to be in Crescent Moon phase a lot less than the others.
Yes, some of the other ones. I don't remember what Dream does.
Oh, geez, off the top of my head, I couldn't even begin to tell you. It's not one I've ever used in a combat scenario.
Dream
5e.
Dream is a 5th level spell.
Mm-hmm. Go
ahead. Which you get at 9th level.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
You got it 9th level.
I guess that's intentional. They're just giving you free spells. This spell shapes a creature's dreams. Shapes a creature known to you as the target of the spell. The target must be on the same plane of existence as you. The creature that don't sleep, such as elves, can't be contacted by the spell. If the target is asleep, a messenger appears in the target's dream that can converse with the target as long as it remains asleep through the duration of the spell. The messenger can also shape the environment of the dream.
Basically, it lets you just talk to somebody.
It's a dream message that hurts their brain when they wake up.
Yeah.
Send them a bad message.
It's not a particularly good spell. So
I don't know if you want to screw with a king from a million miles away.
Real quickly, Crescent Moon spells, the 5 of them are Sanctuary, Blindness, Deafness, Phantom Seed, Hallucinatory Terrain, and Dream. Literally 2 of those are combat spells. Sanctuary, and blindness, deafness.
Which, Sanctuary can be real handy as long as your save is good.
Yeah.
Sanctuary.
And blindness, deafness, kind of sucks.
Yeah. Blindness, deafness is all right, but
Yeah.
my point is, though, looking at
Kinda.
the list of spells, that's not the phase you're going to be in most of the time.
Yeah, Crescent Moon is for utilities and tricks. It's not
Yep.
for combat. So I guess, it then kind of sucks that the best ability is now then tied to something where you don't want
It's
to.
almost it's intentional that way, I would think.
Yeah, your lunar boons are divination and transmutation. Again, you're not really touching the combat-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like New Moon the most. I mean, New Moon's got some of the best spells.
And it's got evocation and necromancy.
Evocation, necromancy, and nothing can hit you when you're in dim light.
Yep. So the last ability this subclass gets is Lunar Phenomenon. Your lunar phase magic burst. As a bonus action, you can tap into a special power of the lunar phase you are currently in. Alternatively, as part of the bonus action you take to change your lunar phase, using your waxing and waning feature, you can immediately use the power of the lunar phase you are entering. God, that is a fucking mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Basically, as a bonus action, for full moon, you radiate intense moonlight for a moment. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or be blinded until the end of its next turn. In addition, one creature of your choice in that area regains 3d8 hit points.
Yeah,
and all the doppelgangers went no.
Yeah, they did. That's not bad. The new moon one, you momentarily emanate an oppressive gloom. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must succeed on a dex saving throw against your spell save DC or take 3d10 necrotic damage and have its speed reduced to 0 until the end of its next turn. In addition, you become invisible until the end of your next turn or until you make an attack or cast a spell.
Again, New Moon, best moon.
Crescent moon, you slip through light and darkness. You can magically teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 60 feet of yourself. In addition, you also gain resistance to all damage until the start of your next turn. That's the spend a bonus point, get the hell out of Dodge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's I don't have any, I can't Misty Step right now. Let me do this instead.
Once you use a phase's bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest unless you spend 5 sorcery points to use it again.
That's a big cost, but I understand for the sake of the abilities.
Yeah.
I
like it. I mean, it's a level 18 thing. Overall, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. So I mean, as a whole, I do like the the lunar subclass.
I'd play it.
It seems pretty cool, but they really need to work on that wording specifically between embodiment and waxing and waning.
Yeah.
And I think they do need, and now we didn't go over what spells you get for the different moon shapes, but I really think they need to revisit those as well.
Obviously.
I see that I know what they're kind of shooting for, but so my main example for one of the things that I have a problem with, and I get that kind of fits for what they're trying to do. But for the full moon, Death Ward problem aside, you get mass cure wounds at 9th.
Yep.
There needs to either the full moon needs to be more revolved around, give it at least one other healing ability as well, or change that to something else.
Is mass cure wounds conjuration?
It's evocation.
See, I would think that all of those spells for the full moon spells should be abjuration or conjuration.
Maybe it is conjuration.
I don't have it pulled up.
Mass cure wounds 5e. Takes 2 seconds. I got it.
Evocation. It is evocation. See, that's wrong. Like that. Those need to match up.
There's other ways they could go with the full moon than that.
Either way, it should be just abjuration and conjuration spells.
I have no problem with them dipping out of it a little bit if it fits a full moon vibe, if you get what I'm saying. Otherwise, okay, I like Fairy Fire, I like Moon Beam, of course. Like those both work really well. Freedom of movement, I think Death Ward is better. So get rid of freedom movement, put death ward there, give them something else for 5th level because clearly they need to replace that. And I ditch Mass Cure Wounds for something, either make the 5th level ability actually a heal sort of thing, and then for getting Mass Cure Wounds makes sense as well. You're staying within like a certain vibe and feel of it, or get rid of Mass Cure Wounds and pick some other lighty thing. I mean, when can you take like Gaius? I think Gaius might be a too high level spell for that.
Yes, it's a 5th level spell, I think. So it would have to be the 9th level or 7th level. Yes.
Yes, this is D&D 5. Its edition is
it's 5th level enchantment.
So replace Master Wounds with Gaius.
Either way, let's move
perfect.
on.
That's a level 5 enchantment ability, but
yeah, because we're getting I think too far into the weeds on this one.
But that was I just wanted to we kind of really did skip past that one. I wanted to specifically talk about the fact they do need to unify their concept.
I agree. I mean, the 15 spells they need to be adjusted. They're heavily.
I think they all need to be fireball.
Well, that's because you're a heathen and you have no idea you're talking.
I mean, maybe for full moon.
Maybe it's all just moonbeam. Every single one is moonbeam.
All they get to moonbeam.
No,
they're druids now.
There you go.
All right, so talk about the backgrounds and tell me why these matter.
All right. So
the strongest backgrounds ever created in the D&D lexicon.
This is where it gets very sort of complex, and I need to give you some background on 3rd edition for this to kind of make sense. So the first thing in the background you see is Knights of Solamnia.
Yep.
That's Salami. Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So a Knight of Solamnia used to be a prestige class. It was
okay.
And they add, what else did they add in here? The feats. Yeah, some of the feats. One of the feats they've got is Knight of the Sword. There's Knight of the Rose, Squire of Solamnia, Knight of the Crown, things like that. Those used to be other prestige classes.
Yep.
And so it was a thing they did specifically with Dragonlance, and this is because of how the novels were written and everything like that. You started out as a Squire of Solamnia. Once you graduated from that, you became a quote-unquote Knight of Solamnia. Then you could learn at, say you became 3rd level, you become a Knight of Solamnia. At 5th level, you could then become Knight of the Crown as another prestige class, or maybe 8th level. I don't have the levels in front of me. Then 3 levels later, you could become Knight of the Sword and then Knight of the Rose. This was the layout.
As long as you met the prerequisites.
Yeah,
to actually do all of them.
This was the layout of that knightly order. Knight of the Rose was sort of the pinnacle of the Knights of Solamnia. That's what everybody aspired to be if you were a part of that order. So they've made Knight of Solamnia the background, and they've added in the other parts as feats.
Okay.
With this background, and Panda's not wrong. These are the best backgrounds I've seen because they're effectively giving you feats. They're effectively giving you feats here. So you have trained to be a valorous warrior known as a Knight of Solamnia. Strict rules guide your every action, and you work to uphold them as you strive to defend the weak and oppose all forms of evil. Your honor is as important to you as your life. Let's see, you gain some other stuff. You get the feature Squire of Solamnia. You gain the Squire of Solamnia feat presented later in this document. In addition, the Knights of Solamnia provide you free, modest lodging and food at any other fortresses or encampments. So as this gives you the Squire of Solamnia, let's go read it for all the listeners. Prerequisites, squireship in the Knights of Solamnia. Your training in the way of the Knights of Solamnia grants you these benefits. You gain proficiency with medium armor and martial weapons. You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid falling off a mount. And you gain encouraging rally. When another creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes a saving throw, you can use your reaction to inspire them. If the target can hear and understand you, it gains advantage on the saving throw. And you can do it once per long rest.
All right. Nothing too crazy there.
No, and this is sort of a prerequisite to become one of these other knightly orders.
Although, admittedly, screw you to medium armor proficiency as well as the weapons master. If you want to take those 2 feats to get medium armor proficiency and learn only 4 weapons.
Yeah, it's that part is mostly going to be useless. Anybody who's playing a Knight of Solamnia is already going to have access probably to heavy armor and martial weapons.
Hell no, man. Take that as a sorcerer.
Well, you can. It's not out of the question, but the vast majority of people who are going to do this are going to be playing fighters or rangers or something like that anyway.
Sure.
Paladins. Then, let's see, where was it? The Knight of the Rose. I'm not going to go through all of these necessarily, but Knight of the Rose, which was the pinnacle of knighthood. Prerequisite, you must have the Squire of Solamnia feat, which means you must have that background, basically. Or, yeah, you would have to have that background.
Yeah, you cannot take the initiating feats of these feat trees, essentially, without having the appropriate background.
Yep. But now they have not made the Knight of the Rose as the pinnacle anymore. They're all separate orders now for the feats. I mean, I guess you could take all of them.
Yes. As long as
okay. Yeah. It looks like you could take all of them. Every time you learn a new feat, you could just get one of these.
Yep.
Well, it says that they're only ever members of one of their organization's orders.
Does it say that?
It does, but it then follows that up with, but you could have been a member of one order, learned their tricks and abilities, and then changed your order.
Next order. Fair enough.
Like that's how it's in their little membership in multiple orders box.
And I truthfully, I don't know if they're planning on doing this with D&D in general, or if this gaining feats thing like that is specifically for Dragonlance, because since they don't have prestige classes anymore, this is just how they opted to do that.
Yeah, and I have thoughts that I want to talk about a bit later. So let's just cover the other guys.
All right. Well, going through it quickly, the Knight of the Rose, you get an increase to con or charisma to a max of 20. You gain bolstering rally. When you roll initiative, you can choose up to 3 other creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. Each creature can gain temporary hit points equal to a roll of your hit dice plus proficiency bonus plus the ability modifier of the ability score increased by this feat. You can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus until a long rest. That's pretty decent. That's not crap hit points.
No, that's good.
Let's see. The Knight of the Sword. You gain proficiency in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw. And you gain willpower immediately after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw. You can expend a hit die, which I like. The saving throw increases by an amount equal to a roll of that hit die, potentially turning a failure into a success once per long rest.
Which one are we looking at? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was doing it in backwards order for some weird reason. That was Knight of the Sword.
Oh, okay.
And then Knight of the Crown. You gain a strength or dex stat, point to that, and tactical teamwork. When a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll against another creature that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to grant advantage on the attack roll. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency, long rest as usual.
Yeah.
So all of these they're all solid feats.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
honestly,
I don't see really anything wrong with any of them.
I know myself, but this is just because of my love for Dragonlance. If I played a Knight of Solamnia, I would probably just take all of these in order.
Sure.
I'd start with Knight of the Crown, then the Knight of the Sword,
I
the Knight of the Rose.
tactical teamwork. That is great for me. I love that as an ability.
Yeah, it's good.
And in fact, I could see using that ability in other sorts of things. Like I've been playing around with the fact, like the Kobold changes they did to the race, and I've been arguing with myself about whether they got rid of pack tactics
Yeah.
Giving them back pack tactics actually seems a little strong. But doing something like this would simulate pack tactics like ability without actually giving them pack tactics. And this, I
Yeah.
really love this as just a concept ability. It's really well. It's a cool idea.
Yep. Let's see. What is the other backgrounds? The Mage of High Sorcery is the other background, and in the same manner as the Knight of Solamnia and all those other knightly ones were prestige classes, the Mage of High Sorcery also was prestige classes. There were three. There's three orders. There's the Adept of the Black Rose, the Adept of the Red Rose, and Adept of the White Rose, or white robe, not rose, robes. And yeah, it was basically depending upon your alignment as to which order you became a member of. The black robes were all evil, the red robes were all neutral, and the white robes, big surprise, were all good.
Which was also tied to the moons.
Which was also tied to the moons. Which is the reason that these feats, as you take them, they give you bonuses in specific schools based upon, like we saw earlier with the lunar sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll read through these in order. Adept of the Black Robes. When you join this order, you gain ambitious magic. Oh, hang on. Prerequisites: High Sorcery Initiative feat. Let's go do that one first, if I can find it, because that's the requirement you get for taking this background. Where is it?
What are you talking about?
I'm looking for the feat Initiate of High Sorcery.
Right above Knight of the Crown.
Right before Knight of the Crown. All right. There it is. Thank you. So when you take that background, you gain this feat. Choose one of the 3 moons of Krynn, each of which is associated with a distinct type of magic. We went over all that earlier. You can cast the chosen first level spell without a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You can also cast the spell using any spell slots you have.
Like we do.
Yep. And the cantrips, if you're oh crap, they went with the Nuatari, Lunatari, and Solinari, which were the 3 moons.
Yes.
I don't remember which was which. Hang on,
the
top one's Evocation and Necromancy, so that's going to be Black Robes.
It's
the Nuatari, Nuatari, you get to choose from Chill Touch, Mage Hand, and Vicious Mockery. Lunatari, which is all the neutral guys, you get to choose from Guidance, Message, and Prestidigitation, which Prestidigitation's a cantrip. Weird. And Solinari, choose one from Produce Flame, Resistance, and Spare the Dying. And I think in the same way they needed to fix the Sorcerer ones, these need adjusting too.
As regards to like what cantrips they give?
Oh, I'm reading this thing wrong. Okay, I thought they were supposed to get first level spells. For some reason, I was reading all the cantrips thinking they were first level spells.
Yeah, they get one cantrip and then they get first level spells.
Right. And then you get to choose one first level wizard spell from the Evocation or Necromancy School of Magic. It's basically Magic Initiate. It's just limiting what you have access to.
Right.
Okay.
Meanwhile, being step 1 and getting the better shit.
Right. And it's step 1 in becoming a member of the Black Robes. Once you become a member of the Black Robes, you learn one second level spell of your choice. The second level spell must be from the Evocation or Necromancy School of Magic. You can cast this feat's second level spell without a spell slot once per long rest. You can also cast the spell using spell slots you have of the appropriate level. Makes sense. Spellcasting ability is the one chosen when you gained the Initiative High Sorcery feat. Then I think for these, I'm just going to read the other abilities they get, because all of them are going to get that ambitious magic, the equivalent thereof.
Yeah, ambitious magic, protective magic, and whatever the fuck.
Yeah, you basically, every one of them, white robe, black robe, red robe, you get a second level spell that you could just cast once, and then you can just add it to your spell list. The other thing they get, the black robes get life channel. You can channel your life force into the power of your magic. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you fails on a saving throw against a spell you cast, you can expend a number of hit dice equal to the level of the spell, roll a number of hit die equal to half the number of hit dice expended, rounded up, and the damage the triggering creature takes increases by an amount equal to the total rolled on those dice.
Holy fuck, that's a
That
mouthful, and they need to fix that shit.
I mean, I understood it just fine.
It's a,
It is a mouthful.
it's
I
a
had to read
mouthful.
that shit. Basically, you cast a spell at something. If it fails the saving throw, you burn hit dice. So I could spend 8 hit dice if I wanted, if I'm 8th level or higher. It will take half of that number. So I'd roll basically 4 dice. If I spent 8, I'd roll 4 dice, and they're going to take that much extra damage.
Right. I hate it. It's a stupid ability. Why are you burning your hit dice like that?
Hit points are only just another pool of resources, man.
I love having hit dice as another resource to burn, not just for resting and healing.
No, right. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with the how much it encourages you to burn through them when you should still primarily be using them for healing.
It fits the flavor of what the black mages were.
Yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
get it.
remember Raceland? He sacrificed his entire health just to become a damn wizard of the black robes.
Yeah,
Like he had a constitution score of like 7 or some shit
that was real
because
silly.
of it.
Of course, but as time went on, who the fuck was going to mess with racing?
Oh, nobody, because he was a 20th level wizard.
Like it's a lot. I think I'm not sure that the damage bonus that you get against one creature is worth the expenditure of hit dice.
It most certainly is not going to be most of the time, but
Right.
that's not the point. A lot of that isn't the point of what Dragonlance is. Dragonlance is about the flavor of what you had in the novels.
Yeah, and yet they fucked up Kender.
Yeah, well, I mean that's them trying to. Yeah, that's fair. They are trying to balance shit when they shouldn't be.
Yeah. So in this regard, this is one of the things where it's like I get them shooting for the flavor, but the balance is off. Just a little bit in some way. Honestly, you're sacrificing your life force. If anything, I don't like the fact that you half the amount.
Yeah, I think that it might be a little overkill. It should probably be spent. Give a limitation on how many you could spend, maybe.
Yeah, you can expend, hit dice up to your proficiency bonus.
Right, yeah, that's what I'd say. Equal to your proficiency bonus.
Just do that. Like that's the max amount you can spend, and then you can add that as damage to your whatever.
Yeah, because you're still sacrificing hit dice to get the effect, but it's
And watch the wizard that takes this, and then have to have arguments with the warlock who wants to short rest all the time. But this wizard doesn't have any fucking hit dice yet left anyway.
That's what clerics are for.
Yeah, that's what fucking Aura Vitality with their 20d6 healing is for.
All right. So the red robes, the red robes, which are the neutral wizards, they get magical balance. When you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, roll a 9 or lower on the d20, you can use your reaction to balance fate and treat the roll as a 10. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get your expended uses once per long rest. That's really good.
Yeah.
We ran into a lot of problems.
It burns your
Star
reaction.
Wars.
What?
Star Wars.
We ran into a lot of problems with Star Wars that had abilities that just like, oh yeah, if you fail, then you can just have this be a 10. Like after a certain point in time, we stopped failing rolls because we would fail a roll and go, oh no, it's just a 10 now.
Right, but you can only do it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, but only happen. But you only need to do it like once a session, if any.
And then you take the lucky feat, and then like there's a million ways you take the.
I like the idea behind failing and then setting it the value to 10, but like I said, we still rarely failed because of that.
Maybe I would change it up to like an inspiration where you can add a D8 or something like that to the roll instead of making it a 10.
Yep. Yeah, something like that, or hell, even a D4 or a D6, whatever's gonna be. I mean, better.
if you take this, let's just say your plus to hit, it's a plus 5, 6, or 7. So now using reaction, proficiency bonus. Like, I have to hit this boss. I mean, it was AC's a 17. I have a +7. I roll, I attack. Okay, now it's a 10. Now it hits. And now I have 2 free hits on the boss, no matter what.
Cool.
Yeah,
and now the boss can run away from you because you don't have a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a mage. I'm standing in the back.
Yep. Attack rolls, I think this is going to be less of an issue of attack rolls. This is more going to be used on ability checks or saves.
That's when the monster then hits the wizard because he can't fucking shield.
Because a lot of saves are going to be 16s, 17s, and getting
dies
a 10,
to 1d4 balance damage.
Yeah, getting that 10 is going to be more. Yeah, at that point, you're more likely to make your saving throws.
Yeah.
Attack rolls, I mean, it could depend on what you're fighting, obviously, but something with armor. Oh, you roll a 10 and you had a +7 to hit. Good. All right, you still miss.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely situations, but like I said, there were times where when I was playing my rogue and I had to make a charisma check, and like I would roll a 9, and it would fail, and I would just make it a 10.
Yep.
I think they were.
If you know how much you failed by.
Yeah, well, I just make it a 10 anyways, and
Star Wars was weird anyway too because everybody was adding pluses to modifiers to everybody else's scores and shit. So.
Which I get for what your scenario of talking about Star Wars, but when you're limited to only doing this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, you're not going to do it on a whim unless you think it's actually going to give you a chance to succeed. I'm not changing a 9 to a 10. I'm just not.
If I roll a 1 or a 2, I'm making it a 10.
I say I save at least 2 of them for botches.
Yeah, just sort of reading it, thinking about it. I don't think magical balance is that broken. It's because it is not the Star Wars game. Star Wars had a lot of other shit with it.
I'd keep this ability just the way it is.
Yeah, I'd keep it this way. Try it out. If I thought it was broken, maybe fix it.
And manipulating d20s is fine.
Yeah. Anyway, Protective Ward, which is the ability the White Robes get. When you are a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend a spell slot and weave protective magic around the target. Roll a number of d4s equal to the level of the spell slot expended and reduce the damage the target takes by the total rolled of those dice plus your spellcasting ability modifier.
And you thought Intercept was broken.
Yeah. If you thought Intercept was a problem, fucking let me introduce you to Protective Ward.
At least it uses a spell slot.
It does. Burning, you'd have to burn higher level spell slots. But it's so just assuming you have an 18 in your stat, which is pretty common. And hell, you burn a first level spell slot at level 1, you might be stopping 8 damage. So it's
I'm not that worried about this.
Actually, because of the burning spell slots.
No, that's whatever.
Yeah, it's less of a thing.
Oh shit! Is that fireball hitting me? Okay, I'm gonna burn my 8th level spell slot.
Yeah, not likely. So reading it immediately, I was like, "Oh, this sounds broken." Then reading and thinking about it, no, it's all right.
Like I said, you have to spend a spell slot. That makes it better. Honestly, Intercept should have some kind of.
And you're rolling d4s.
Yeah, but still,
it ain't gonna get that high. I'm not sure I want to burn like a 4th level spell to reduce some damage by 4d4.
One of those things when your guy is about to get dropped.
Right.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
It's minimum. You're reducing it by 5.
Assuming you have an 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's not.
Which is fine. But like reducing it by 5, that's huge at low levels. But I mean, you're not getting this until 4th level anyway. And even after that, like by the time you get like 10th, 11th, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like it's a nice little extra little damage like resistance, but whatever.
All right. So there's only 2 other things on here. There was 2 more feats, and
my favorite one.
And I actually haven't read these. I didn't read them the other day. So there's and these are obviously cleric or something like that. Divine Communications. Your connection to your god deepens, granting you these benefits. Ability score increase, +1. Increase the ability score of the spellcasting ability chosen when you gain the divinely favored feat. Okay, maybe I should read them in first order.
No, read divinely favored first.
Yeah. They have them in the wrong order. So divinely favored. A god has chosen you to carry a spark of their divine power. You learn the thaumaturgy cantrip and one first-level spell based on the alignment of your character, as specified in the alignment spells table. All right, I'll have to go look at that. You can cast the chosen
scroll down.
first level spell without a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You may also cast the spell using any spell slot you have. All right.
Yes.
And the alignment spells chart, there's evil, good, and neutral. Choose one first warlock or wizard spell for evil. Choose one first cleric or wizard spell for good, or choose a druid or wizard spell for neutral. In addition, you can use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus for any spell you cast that uses the spellcasting ability you choose when you select this feat. I am a huge fan of this, once again, because this is the literal flavor of what Dragonlance was. The very first book I read, was it the fuck? I am forgetting the name. The Leaves of Autumn Twilight. Yeah, it's Leaves of Autumn Twilight. If they even have the cartoon of it, basically, but you meet Goldmoon early on, who has been chosen by the deity to represent all that is good.
Yeah.
And that's effectively, she got abilities because of that. Then there's divine communications. I already know where this is going, just having mentioned that. So you get to increase an ability score. You gain celestial tongues. You learn to speak, read, and write celestial and 2 other languages of your choice.
Great flavor, love it.
Holy shit, 2 other languages. That's actually good. And you gain divine omens. You can cast the augury and commune spell without a spell slot, and you must finish 1d4 long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You can also cast the spell using spell slots you have of the appropriate level. The spell's divine spellcasting ability is the one chosen when you gain the divinely favored feat.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it speaks Dragonlance.
It speaks Dragonlance, and it's good. It's just
I would take those feats if I want to play that kind of a character. I'm taking those feats.
Yeah, like a divinely blessed character, but I don't want to play a paladin or a cleric. Yep. I'm taking this shit.
Yep,
hands down.
Yep, I mean, like if I was playing the character, my warlock the way I'm playing it, I would have picked divinely favored if it came up as a feat for me.
Yeah, because you're this follower of Tiamat. You're not a cleric. You're not a paladin. It would have divinely favored. Actually, would have fit your Dragonborn.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, divinely favored is essentially, once again, it's magic initiate.
Yeah.
With the new improved wording of being able to use your own spell slots for that shit.
Yep. But you get the holy symbol as a spellcasting focus, which is it's not that big of a deal, but it makes sense.
Yep.
Yes. Exactly. Like, I like the idea that you could play a wizard, take divinely favored to a goddess of magic, and use her holy symbol as your arcane focus.
Yep.
That's fantastic. That's awesome and lovely. And then you could still play a wizard, but because you're a good aligned cleric of whatever goddess of magic, you could have a first level cleric spell, so you can at least do cure wounds.
Yeah. So I guess now's a better time as any. I really like how these backgrounds lead to different feats. I know one of our friends was upset that the background gave you a feat for free, but I'm not too upset with it because really all it is just it's a flavor feat that allows you access to other feats. Yeah. I like the idea of feats leading to other feats. Like, I really think Gladiator as a background there should be a Gladiator feat for you to take. Giving you proficiency with a trident and a net, and then being able to do stuff. And some of the backgrounds are really good. Some of them are just kind of meh. But if they all had an associated feat that went with them, it would add a lot more depth to the game. And I like the fact that a lot of these spells, a lot of these feats are given out free utility spells or fun spells. Like Divining Favor giving you Thaumaturgy. I love Thaumaturgy. But I'm not going to waste one of my 1 to 4 cantrips on Thaumaturgy,
Oh, I do every time.
But it's just...
I take prestidigitation, period.
Druidcraft, prestidigitation, Thaumaturgy, hands down, will always be on my cantrip list.
Yep.
but they're not
Most
unmined.
best cantrips.
So I like the fact that they're giving away some of the non-combat spells and cantrips to players.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, I really think that should happen more.
So much of this fits the Dragonlance that I know. There's definitely some tweaking and some things that need to be fixed. But for the most part, the majority of this is the flavor that I wanted. So,
funnily enough, this brings me back to, and I think something that I did say when I first asked about whether or not we were doing this on the podcast, was it does, and it's very subtle. It's not super required, or it doesn't break the game if you don't do it, but it gives feat trees, which I love. I love being able to build up into a theme that you can make yourself better and take things that advance as you go along. And the fact that 5e never had that with feats, to me, was always depressing to a guy who loved 3.5, and admittedly, yes, that was a crazy amount of feat trees, but this is like a much more subtle and relaxed way of doing the same sort of thing and making it work with 5e.
This won't get out of hand either because of how difficult it is to get feats in 5e. Third edition, if you played a fighter, you had a feat like every level.
Yeah,
it got stupid very, very quickly. With this one, you get a feat every 4 levels, man. Make them count.
And if you don't take a feat that has some kind of like ASI attached to it, you're kind of going behind the curve too. So I like how some of these are giving you ASIs to help out.
I don't know what an ASI is.
Ability score increase.
Ability score improvement.
Okay. I will never remember that.
How do you not remember that?
Because it's an ability. It's a ability increase or ability score increase.
Ability score increase. ASI.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember. But go ahead. I don't remember abbreviations well.
All right. Well, BRB LOL.
Lol.
Okay, go ahead.
Overall, I'm very happy with this list. I like it a lot. The last point I kind of want to make with this is I think a lot of this works really well in Dragonlance.
Yes.
And I really think that WotC needs to take a step back with their books. They need to put out more books. More adventures, more campaign books, more source books. And they need to start grouping these things up by the areas they are. There needs to be all the Forgotten Realm books. They kind of already do that, but they need more Dragonlance source books, and they need to say, okay, here's what we suggest that only use the Dragonlance. If you're running Theros, use Theros and just these other books. And really,
there is no reason for them to not do the campaign setting book, which is the history of the world. Talk about what is unique about that D&D world, any subclasses or races or feats that don't exist in other D&D settings for the most part. Put that shit into a campaign setting book, have that be one book, and then do an adventure book set in the same world.
Yep.
It's essentially your PHB and your Dungeon Master's Guide. Here's the stuff you need for building characters and understanding the world. Here's the adventure you can run in.
Now,
be done.
Now, Dragonlance had one thing that none of these other D&D settings had, and it's kind of akin to Star Wars in that aspect.
Tender.
No, it had different ages you could play in.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was multiple, there was at least 3 different ages that I can think of off the top of my head. And as for the 3rd edition stuff they released, 3.035 stuff, there's the campaign setting, which is majority of Age of the Lance, basically the War of the Lance, all of that stuff, and then they released the Age of Mortal book later on, which that's the setting for the War of the Souls. Which is,
you mean where they advance storylines?
Yes.
But yeah, God forbid WotC get back to doing that shit.
Yeah, so you could play it, and I think there was a 30-year gap or something between those points where a lot has changed. There's a lot of other groups and organizations that didn't exist. A couple of the gods were missing. Magic went awry. There was no magic in Age of Mortals initially. All spellcasters had lost access to magic. So
Yeah.
I would love. Truthfully, I don't care if they do that with Forgotten Realms, but it's just something very different that Dragonlance had that none of these other ones had.
But I mean, but like, yes, every single one of these settings needs that sort of development put into it. They can't keep half-assing this shit. It's just pathetic. The Theros book it's got some good shit in there, but it's half-assed. Like, yeah, you got some god stuff in there, cool, but like,
The
I don't know, it seems lacking.
the Ravnica book was actually really good, but
Yeah,
that was relatively early in
yeah.
5e, and it is definitely. I've seen the downtrend since then. Uh, they're I won't say all of their books have been garbage. I mean, I really loved Tasha's. Fizban's is pretty good, but all of the stuff that we had wanted, the lore has not been good. This is the first one I've seen. This UA is the first thing I've seen in a long time, really giving me hope.
Well, this is what's going to come down to being a real problem for me. However, is if they put Kender into a book and the amount of lore is the same amount of lore they gave you for Harengon, you're going to see a Kender and have no idea what the fuck it is.
That is true. Yes.
If they don't step up their game and start putting some goddamn lore in their books, and they try to do Dragonlance with lore missing, then what the fuck's the point?
Yeah, because mind you, I'm feeling the flavor of Dragonlance, but I also have extreme knowledge of Dragonlance. Whereas Waples saw this and he's like, whatever, because there's not the lore to fill this in. Mind you, this is just the UA, but you're absolutely correct. If they do not have a fuck ton of lore when this book hits, it's going to be a problem.
Mean nothing.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and so like the Kinder is a good example of my issues. So like, if you look in the UA there, it states that the Kinder are they're natives of the world of Krynn, and they have connection to the Feywild, and every once in a while they just fall through portals and gates and show up on other planes in the worlds. Like, okay, that's cool, but I'm not gonna have Kinder in my game at all. It's going to be in a Dragonlance game. It's the same problem with the Artificers. Artificers did not exist in the Faerun. Maybe there was an island someplace off the coast that had an artificer or two, and Tasha was like, "Oh yeah, well they exist. They are everywhere now." And I hated that.
Yeah.
There was nothing that actually brought them in to the lore correctly. So I really hope that there's a toggle where I can just toggle off Dragonlance stuff, because even though this stuff is cool and the backgrounds are neat, I don't want any of it in my D&D stuff.
Yeah.
If I ever play a Dragonlance game, yeah. So if I play a Dragonlance game, I want just Dragonlance stuff. And
I get it. I don't allow any Theros. I don't allow Ravnica. I barely allow Artificers in my game because it doesn't fit the setting properly.
And I mean, but some GMs are going to like it, and D&D is just giving us options. And in the grand scheme of things,
options are good.
Yeah, give us the prerogative to say no, and that's all that matters.
But if you give us the information behind all the races and classes ahead of time, then it becomes less of an issue.
And it becomes less of an issue for me too, because then I can go, okay, well, all right, you want to play something from Theros, okay? And there was a girl that wanted to play one of the Theros races in Adventures League. Well, sorry, you can't, because per the rules, you can't play this character in Adventures League. It's only Faerun native races. But hey, we're playing hardcover Frostmaiden. And in hardcover Frostmaiden rules for AL, your character may not be allowed to play on any other table, because just how the hardcover rules work. So I now have the flexibility of saying, okay, you can do this because there is a reason why in Frostmaiden somebody else from a different plane will be there. So you can play this. And just know that you can't play this character anywhere else other than my table with me. And they accepted that, like, okay, I'll do that, and moved on from there. But I have to know what Theros is and all that lore. And Theros, the book has all that lore there, and along with the magic set.
Yeah.
But like Haragon, for example, bringing that up earlier, still don't know what the Haragon is or how they showed up.
Yeah, they're just some bunny people.
They're just some bunny people that just showed up because Fury.
They're not Fae. They just live on the material plane somewhere.
Yeah, like
somebody wanted to play a bunny person in D&D, or they read a lot of Saga Yojimbo and decided they wanted to do it, one or the other.
And I'm not going to download the DLC and incorporate that in, because the second you throw it up as DLC, okay, but now I have to print it out and have it with me at all times. It needs to be in the book. I'm paying for the book. I'm paying for the lore. It needs to be there.
Yes.
But we've gone on for a while now, by the way.
Hour 45 minutes or so.
So final thoughts on Dragonlance. Jay.
This gives me hope. It has the feel, it has the flavor. So obviously I'm always a person of let's wait and see, but this is a good step. I appreciate this, and I just want more. Give me the setting, that way I can actually run it in 5e and not have to convert everything.
All right, final words, Panda.
I love the idea of it. I love what they're putting together. I love the feat trees. But it is obvious to me as well that in some of the construction of what they've done is that they were not paying attention to what they were doing. They slapped some shit together and threw it out there. And while a bunch of it is really good, it's clear that they just weren't putting in all the full effort. And I'm really worried that's going to carry over into whatever the final product is going to be. Either that or somebody really needs to start slapping some people around to make sure that these sort of mistakes that are showing up in the UA, or the bad wording, spells at the wrong spell level, stuff like that, isn't something that's in the final product.
Miss Perkins, this falls on you, buddy.
Perkins, come on, man. Be the dude we know you can be.
He wasn't involved in this at all. It was Ben Prester, Wesley Schneider, and Jerry Crawford.
Is he not the overseer of 5e?
The lore. He's overseer of the lore. He's not overseer of the rules as written, which is the people I just read. Anyways,
Crawford.
My final words. You had your final words. My final words is not enough dragons, not enough lances. Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Fuck you, Craig.
I'm southbound and down. All my rolls are crits. It's time for me to hit the bricks.